The story begins with a kid, deserted and left to pass on by his own dad. He attempts to get by in this savage world. While the kid is making tracks, a vehicle follows him and attempts to run him over. The kid endures the hit with minor wounds, as the man watches him drain. Quick forward to the year 2001 in Vladivostok, Russia. The kid is running in the forest and exploring his direction through deterrence. As the Russian man, Pavel, portrays his endurance leads distinctly. The kid turns over the slant and seeks shelter by a stone. While focusing on the shoddy objective, as he's going to shoot, a wolf shows up from behind the shrubberies. While Pavel helps him to remember rule number 2, never keeping the observer alive. The kid actually wonders whether or not to kill without an explanation. Pavel takes out his gun to show him how it's finished. However, the kid pushes Pavel's arm, crashing his point. The wolf in the end get away, while Pavel rebuffs the kid by binds him to a tree. Pavel is a Russian professional killer who took the kid in when he was passed on to kick the bucket. Presently, he prepares him in his own particular manner, on the grounds that, in his eyes, this world has a standard that is natural selection. The kid loosens himself before sunset, however has no energy passed on to get himself from the beginning. As he lifts his head, he sees the wolf he saved before, seeming as though it stopped by to say thanks to him for saving its life. The kid looks profound into the wolf's blue eyes, acknowledging the two of them have similar shaded eyes. However, it's not only the eyes. The two of them have a similar normal impulse, which is to get by in nature. Quick forward to 2017 in Busan, the kid is grown up to be a young fellow named Kim Suhyun, who has strolled straight on the stack of Pavel and has turned into a tip-top professional killer. He camouflages himself as a circuit repairman while dealing with his arrangements to introduce a secret camera in the vent of the Red Mafia's estate. Then again, Pavel has gone past his retirement age, yet is as yet residing in his dull, curtained home. Old Pavel has dementia, yet isn't prepared to surrender his professional killer life. In the wake of seeing a couple of things moved in the house, Pavel believes that he is followed by his foes, and presently they are in his home to kill him. With tenacities, he rapidly trades his rosary with a firearm and gradually strolls down to the cellar. In the cellar, it's Suhyun. Removing his professional killer gear in the wake of a monotonous day at work, Pavel, obviously not recollecting Suhyun and believing he's a gatecrasher, starts shooting at him. Suhyun simply figures out how to hide behind storage spaces and hops in on close battle with Pavel. Pavel wounds him on the shoulder with a blade. Be that as it may, fortunately, Suhyun gets his arm around Pavel's neck, forcing him down until he rests. As Suhyun can't go to the clinic, he lines his shoulder wound himself. His distinct back is brimming with scars, each recounting an account of the solitary fighter. In the wake of treating his injury, Suhyun keeps an eye on his objective through the secret camera. The objective is Karamov, the top of Moscow's Red Mafia pack. While giving a concise about the objective, Pavel fails to remember the name of the objective. Suhyun stresses considerably more over Pavel's deteriorating condition that he proposes he take retirement from his vocation. Disregarding the counsel, Pavel lets Suhyun know that he can deal with the gig, and he ought to continue on and become autonomous. Then, at that point, Pavel hands Suhyun a taped image of his family, where Suhyun was a kid. He believes that him should track down his family and carry on with an ordinary life. However, Suhyun rejects the thought as Pavel is his family, and he won't let him be. Prior to heading to sleep, Pavel defies his guideline number 1 and uncovers his client's character. Around a long time back, when Suhyun was making tracks, it was his dad who requested Pavel to kill him while Suhyun is sleeping. Pavel goes all alone to bring down the Red Mafia's chief, Karamov. He gets ready with his expert sharpshooter and focuses on Karamov. As he's going to pull the trigger, his hands begin shaking, and before he can settle his point, he loses the objective from the degree. Pavel is an obstinate elderly person who would rather not acknowledge that he's becoming old and now is the right time to resign. All things considered, he covertly slips into the manor to bring down Karamov. Suhyun follows Pavel for his reinforcement. As Pavel nonchalantly passes by the gatekeeper, the watchman remembers him as an interloper and calls for additional watchmen. Pavel enjoys actual battle, yet before long causes dwarfed and gets himself problems. The gatekeeper cuts him with a blade and shoots him in the leg. In the nick of time, Suhyun mediates and brings down 2 gatekeepers. The last gatekeeper, who is the child and individual protector of Karamov, figures out how to hold Pavel at gunpoint and hauls him away. The gatekeeper torments Pavel and requests to realize who sent him, however Pavel is prepared to kick the bucket as opposed to give out the data. Without a second thought, the watchman shoots him in the chest. While the gatekeepers are examining Pavel, Suhyun sets up a delayed bomb in the vent and follows the vent to Karamov's room. He holds Karamov at gunpoint and requests he assemble every one of his men in the room. Karamov's child takes the snare and lets Pavel be. Suhyun finds Pavel vigorously injured on the ground. Pavel realizes that his opportunity has arrived, however he's glad to see Suhyun close by. Then, the last snapshots of disappointment take over Pavel, as he is sorry to Suhyun for bringing him up along these lines. He holds Suhyun's hand and requests that he guarantee that he will leave this way and carry on with a customary life. Before Suhyun says anything, Pavel takes his final gasp, letting Suhyun be and in dismay. He shakes his body commonly, however his spirit is as of now withdrawn. While Suhyun is lamenting Pavel's demise, he gets an image of his family from Phillips, who is his companion and business specialist. The image is equivalent to the one given by Pavel, so Suhyun promptly calls him. Phillips had another woman guest offering an attractive measure of cash for accepting her as a client. In any case, Suhyun dismissed it as he was surrendering his professional killer's life. The woman offers to send an image connected with his past for each target killed. There are a sum of 6 targets, and she'll send an image for each effective death. Phillips momentarily makes sense of for him on the call. Suhyun acknowledges the work. On the whole, he requests that he orchestrate a spot for him to remain, as the Red Mafia has followed him to his place. Suhyun tracks his most memorable objective, an elderly person hunting a deer. As the man moves toward the edge of the bluff and focuses on the deer, Suhyun comes running like the breeze and bounces in the air. Roping the elderly person's leg, the man tumbles off, while Suhyun keeps it together with a rope on the bluff. The man is harmed, yet at the same time alive. Suhyun infuses some liquid into the man's ear, making his heart stop. He snaps a photo of the objective as verification. The following day, when the news emerges, incidentally, the elderly person was the famous president. President Yudae-won, an extraordinary examination unit cop, Do Hyun-jin, shows up at the crime location. While everybody feels that it was a mishap, Hyun-jin views at President Yu's face and peruses his looks as though he was attempting to talk prior to kicking the bucket. She accepts that it's a manslaughter case as opposed to a slip and fall mishap. As she's examining the crime location for more proof, Official Park presents himself safely. Official Lee makes sense of that Park is pompously acting on the grounds that Hyun-jin is more youthful, however in a more senior situation than him. Hyun-jin continues on without being annoyed by the irreverence. Returning, she sees Suhyun attempting to protect a harmed grovel. Aside from being a professional killer, he is likewise a veterinarian. Hyun-jin tosses the dart needle and immobilizes the running grovel, as Suhyun attempts to protect the creature. Hyun-jin offers her scarf to cover the grovel size. Suhyun rejects her assistance and conveys the creature to his truck. Hyun-jin defies him for his discourteous and unappreciative way of behaving. Without belligerence, Suhyun apologizes and takes her scarf. He then, at that point, hands his business card to her. Hyun-jin doesn't appear to be dazzled by how discourteous he is, yet she lets him know that she will call if she at any point needs his administration. She drives off with disillusionment. Suhyun consistently goes to a cafe close to his home. He goes there to get an exceptional lunchbox for her loft proprietor. The eatery proprietor appears to be in the middle of battling with her crummy spouse, who is requesting cash from her to squander it on drugs. The spouse gets a seat to toss at her, however Suhyun stops him and requests that the woman set him up the unique lunchbox. The man appears to be angry with Suhyun for mediating, yet he allows it to go unnoticed as he isn't in no situation to face him. Suhyun takes the lunch and heads towards his veterinarian shop. Saljai, the student proprietor of Suhyun's vet place of business, goes along with him to have her lunch. While eating, she inquisitively gets some information about the scarf holding tight the side. Suhyun is caught up with working, so he answers casually to every one of her inquiries. Hyunjin Sr. accompanies a stunning scientific report that the needle found at the crime location had hints of the deadly toxin and President utilized DNA at the tip. However, there were likewise hints of cocaine, suggesting that the executioner was a medication fiend. This comes as a shock to Hyunjin, yet before she can offer her input, Official Park and Official Lee Russian with affirmed proof of their suspect. Suhyun had outlined the medication fiend and oppressive spouse of the cafe proprietor, and the police captured him instantly. Hyunjin fundamentally sees as the cafe proprietor quickly argues that her better half can't kill anybody. The official gives her not a great reason, however rather tells her to legal counsel her up. In the cross-examination room, the oppressive spouse jerks from drug withdrawals and madly removes his shoe to divulge a needle. As he readies his arm for the infusion, the police force separates in and holds him. Hyunjin cautions him of the results of his demonstrations, however the man just thinks often about taking care of his enslavement. While the entire office goes up to celebrate tackling the case, Official Hyunjin stays back late. She accepts that the medication fiend man isn't fit for holding himself straight, not to mention hauling somebody off the precipice. Official Lee joins her as the two of them share a similar inclination. They are attempting to come to an obvious conclusion, yet it's puzzling to go any place with how much proof they have. While coming back, Hyunjin is excessively occupied by tackling the case in her brain that she runs over a feline. She surges out of the vehicle and finds the feline harmed. As she overreacts, not knowing what to do, she recollects the vet, Suhyun, saving a harmed grovel who gave her his business card. His center is close by, so she rushes and takes the feline to him. On one hand, Suhyun is a professional killer who passes his objectives heads over. Then again, he's a caring veterinarian with endless empathy for creatures. He performs an effective medical procedure, and the feline is out of risk. This gives a moan of help to Hyunjin. Prior to leaving, she checks out the center and attempts to make casual conversation with Suhyun. Yet Suhyun, being Suhyun, keeps it short. Selgi advances into the facility and gets desirous seeing Suhyun conversing with Hyunjin. However, she picks her supper from the table and leaves. At the point when everybody leaves, Suhyun advances toward the secret chamber. He sends Udae Hyun's image to Phillips and, in return, gets one of his pasts. As Hyunjin searches for a spot to remain, she chooses to move into Suhyun's structure. Selgi, who is the proprietor of the structure, shows her around the house. Hyunjin brings up the inadequacies and requests for redesign, yet Selgi, being a difficult student, straight out rejects her allure. Suhyun, according to a professional killer's point of view, doesn't need an official to live in a similar structure, however she chooses to occupy the room. Every step of the way, Selgi doesn't coexist with Hyunjin as she calls attention to the defects in her structure, however that is not it. Hyunjin figures out that the lift doesn't deal with the 4th floor. She faces Selgi about it, however Selgi tells her that the lift is for the proprietor as it were. Hyunjin laughs at her reaction prior to driving off for work. As Selgi is walking towards her school, she gets trapped by certain men who are attempting to grab her. These are her uncle's men, and her uncle is after her huge properties. He's a shrewd individual who's attempting to unreasonably assume control over Selgi's properties, as she is youthful and defenseless. Fortunately, Suhyun shows up at the scene and gradually walks towards them. However, before he draws any nearer, Hyunjin shows up adjacent to him and cautions the criminals to take off. She's not being treated in a serious way, so she gets soft drink jars from Suhyun and tosses one with full power. She misses the first, yet the subsequent one takes out the man driving the overthrow. She takes out the other 2 people with clenched hands, and a little assistance from Suhyun from behind, showing a general collaboration. As Philip's home is struck again by the Red Mafia, he calls Suhyun and inquires as to whether he's alright. Suhyun tells him not to stress prior to hanging up. Suhyun is strolling to his center, and Hyunjin chooses to go along with him as they live in a similar structure. They share soft drink jars while discussing the occasions that happened in the beyond couple of days. Albeit the discussion is uneven, with just Hyunjin sharing her contemplations, Suhyun is a decent audience. After arriving at the center, Hyunjin meets her feline and gives her some cushioning on the head, while Suhyun is inside hanging tight for her to leave. She plunks down and starts discussing Selgi from before. Selgi lost her folks early on, and from that point forward, she had nobody with the exception of disgusting family members pursuing her abundance. Suhyun knows this quite well, as he and Pavel were the ones who made her a vagrant. However, he was unable to force himself to kill a small kid who watched everything occur before her eyes. While Hyunjin examines her past, Selgi is near. Hearing their discussion, she blows up, since she could do without anybody prying on her past and feeling for her. The Russian posse, Red Mafia, drugs little kids and uses them for sex dealing. The police tapped his area, thus did Suhyun. Hyunjin slips into their safe house building, masking herself as a professional, yet she isn't ready for the thing that's coming down the road. From a camera concealed in her glasses, she keeps an eye on their refuge. As she begins posing an excessive number of inquiries and being over-meddling, the mafia gets very dubious of her way of behaving. However, she keeps her personality until a hostage young lady gets away from out of one of the rooms. One of them attempts to medicate Hyunjin, yet she battles out. She is dwarfed and in genuine peril. However, at that point Suhyun makes a section and leads everybody to a room. He independently takes out about 6 people with clenched hands and kicks, similar to a genuine boss. As Hyunjin's reinforcement shows up, she pursues the Red Mafia's chief. She defies him on the housetop with no real way to get away, however the Russian mafia fellow is only excessively fast for her. He fires at Hyunjin without giving her chance to understand. That is when Suhyun makes an unexpected appearance, pulling her hand and protecting her. He takes the projectile to the back however saves Hyunjin. Hyunjin continues to investigate his eyes as he holds her with one hand and shoots the Russian person with the other. At last, the person get away and Suhyun pursues him, yet Hyunjin is as yet shocked and reflecting upon what simply magnificent collaboration she had. Hyunjin attempts to stop Suhyun, yet he pursues the Red Mafia's chief. Her reinforcement shows up later than expected as expected when all that's been dealt with. Suhyun stays unfortunate, losing the Russian man in the roads. In any case, he continues to think back about how he saved Hyunjin and that he was so near getting the Russian person. As Suhyun is working in his facility, Suhyun enters the center and welcomes him with a grin. He inquires as to whether she could throw out her new inhabitant, Hyunjin. Suhyun, being interested, attempts to research in the event that both of them had a battle. However, every time Suyun feels that she is talking extra, he advises her to go higher up. Then again, Hyunjin is as yet pondering the Russian person that got away. She faults herself for getting so close yet not having the option to bring him down. She gets a call from official Lee, who illuminates her that CCTVs couldn't get him, and presently he's evaporated like a phantom. However, Hyunjin solidly accepts that he's concealing close by, as his group was gotten and his business is destroyed. In the midst of all the confusion, Hyunjin doesn't neglect to commend her birthday. She carries a cake to Suyun's facility and completes a smaller than normal birthday festivity together. Hyunjin inquires as to whether he has any companions that he misses. Suyun might seem like the sort of fellow without any sentiments in his heart, however where it counts, he additionally misses his tragically missing cherished companion. It was a warm talk among them, and likely interestingly, Suyun imparted something individual about himself to somebody. He goes to his mystery chamber, where he has kept the paper planes that were given to him by his cherished, lifelong companion. He takes a gander at it with trust and misery, and visits an intriguing, cheerful memory. Suyun has the most unforeseen visitor in his center, Hyunjin's temporary mother. Hyunjin and her mom are not exactly close. She offers an attractive measure of cash to Suyun for watching out for her and detailing each in and outs of her day-to-day routine. She lets him know how she is worried about her little girl as her profession is extremely hazardous. While thinking of her as worries, Suyun consciously dismisses her proposition. At the point when Hyunjin enters her loft, she is stunned to see new and costly furniture in her home and her ice chest loaded with food. She figures out that her mom visited and brought the entirety of the stuff. While she feels a debt of gratitude on the call, inside, she is extremely unglued about how she penetrated her protection. Her non-permanent mother fostered a psychological instability when her youngster died. Thus, she took on Hyunjin and regarded her as a substitution for her most memorable youngster, yet she was rarely cherished. Hyunjin heads to Suyun, and before she grumbles about her non-permanent mother breaking into her home, Suyun puts her down to treat her injury on the face. As he is occupied with gauzing her face, he sees the Red Mafia remaining across the road and watching him. The Russian person has tracked down his location through Phillips, and presently Suyun is in harm's way. Suyun is stressed as the Russian person is after Suyun. Suyun gets her from school and even gives her a whistle to blow in crises. However, obviously, how could Solji view anything in a serious way? She begins blowing whistles for no particular reason, which disappoints Suyun. In any case, he can't tell her that she's in harm's way. Subsequent to calling Suyun for weak reasons, she fiendishly giggles. However, at that point, she gets in peril for genuinely as the Red Mafia's supervisor slips into her home. She wildly gets away, yet she has no place to run. She attempts to blow the whistle, yet the Russian person smacks her on the floor. Our legend professional killer acts the hero in the nick of time. Looking for the third time in savage actual battle, Suyun makes a point to give him a decent smacking. While tossing punches at him, Suyun guilefully chips a GPS beacon on his collar. The Russian person again gets away from in the wake of getting a humiliating loss. Be that as it may, this time, Suyun won't allow him to go far away. Hyunjin takes out the Russian person's safehouse data while examining his team individuals. While Hyunjin takes the entire police power to capture that man, Suyun rides on his bicycle solo to pursue his retribution. He might very well never show it, however Solji resembled her loved ones. Furthermore, going after her was the greatest misstep the head of the Red Mafia made. He finds him and gets to him before he gets away from the country. Suyun focuses his weapon at him as the Russian person gradually strolls in reverse. When his hand moves to arrive at his weapon, Suyun shoots his hand. Suyun feels rage, so he's not in that frame of mind for the little deceives. The Russian Mafia fellow is making a respectable attempt to delay. He offers to inform Suyun regarding his past with every one of the names connected to it. Yet, Suyun has had enough of him, and he blows his head off without even batting an eye. The police track down the Red Mafia's manager on the dock with a projectile in his temple. Hyunjin knows the person in the cover got to him before they could. Much to her dismay that the person in the veil is Suyun. The specialist from the scientific discovers a few significant hints and calls Hyunjin to reveal them to her. The slug on the head tells that the executioner was exceptionally equipped. Obviously, Suyun is equipped, yet the significant finding is that the cuts on the Red Mafia fellow's leg have a particular cut that coordinates with cuts on President Yu's body. The sharp edge utilized in the crime is remarkable to such an extent that it can't be tracked down anyplace in Korea. It's difficult to process for Hyunjin that a similar executioner killed President Yu. In the meantime, Suyun, who's a professional killer, is gradually going gaga for the criminal investigator Hyunjin. He has begun seeing her, similar to how she purchases vegetables from an old woman and offers tea with an outsider. He presently prefers to spend time with her regardless of whether he acknowledge it, however he has begun preferring her. It's veritable to see Suhyun not compelling a cold-blooded man persona on himself and really showing his actual feelings. The old vegetable woman gives him a pack of vegetables, thinking he is Hyunjin's beau and he ought to convey it. They in all actuality do seem to be sweethearts and sweethearts as they are in every case together. Hyunjin grins at Suhyun before they leave together. Phillips, who is presently living with Suhyun subsequent to getting away from the Russian mafia, gives him a photograph of his next target. It's web optimization once took, who's the representative of Korea. However, he was engaged with a ton of dull things that went on years and years prior. Suhyun gets into the activity, taking photos of his objective from far off, then keeps an eye on him at the air terminal, searching for that ideal chance to draw near to the objective. Mr. Web Optimization's girl calls a vet to treat her evil feline. Think about who she called? Suhyun is in excess of a professional killer. He is a famous vet nearby, and he's been called to Web Optimization's home. Exploring his past is his ideal opportunity. While preparing the feline, Suhyun slips into Mr. Website Optimization's confidential workspace. Utilizing some tech contraption, he opens the safe and takes out a document of the Hansel halfway house. Turning many pages and taking pictures, he isn't finding what he's searching for, the number 88. His tragically missing companion used to give him paper planes with the number 88 on it. Thus, that number is some way or another connected to him. Might it be said that he is one of the youngsters from a Hansel shelter? He finds the number 88 youngster profile, however the image is absent. Somebody deliberately eliminated the image as they needed to eliminate each verification of his reality, yet presently he knows that the number 88 is a male. The nearer he gets to his past, the more obscure his past appears. Something was happening in the halfway house. Phillips breaks a fascinating update about the Hansel shelter. Looking for search engine optimization, one's Sukin Hansel halfway house was illegal in Korea. However, Phillips is normally gifted with regards to hacking in PCs. He gives Suhyun the shelter's area, and Suhyun gets on his way. The incident is that when Suhyun breaks into the dubious shelter, Hyunjin likewise winds up there simultaneously. Hyunjin is told about this shelter by her new investigator, who is peculiar and continuously attempting to play with her. The second they enter the halfway house, they begin recollecting. Suhyun recollects paper planes, his main companion, and how he was hauled out and taken someplace obscure. It was the last time he saw his companion, or was it actually the last time? He realizes that he is the number 88 of this unpleasant shelter. Then again, Hyunjin is additionally examining and searching for hints about her companion. She gets to the opening in the wall that is covered with blocks. She eliminates the block and recollects that this was their mysterious section from where they would trade planes. The number 88 would carry her something to eat, while she would make paper planes for him. As Hyunjin is investigating the wall, she detects that somebody is watching her. Suhyun, taking cover behind the corner, watches her intently. Is Hyunjin her tragically missing companion? As Hyunjin leaves, Suhyun explores the shelter and finds an ID. It was a similar name composed on one of the paper planes. Phillips doesn't grasp the association between the two, yet Suhyun precisely understands what's going on with it. Official Hyunjin from the 4th floor and his cherished companion Lee Eun-hoon, who made paper planes, are a similar individual. He has a miserable outlook on how their life was looted and the way that they were deserted. He recollects how they were treated at the Hansel shelter, never having enough to eat. He doesn't recollect how he endured when each and every youngster at the shelter disappeared. Hyunjin was embraced by the executive, Do Jaewon. Director's better half, Young Soyeon, needed Hyunjin to turn into a ballet artist, however she never felt cheerful doing expressive dance. Subsequent to going on an outing to the halfway house, Hyunjin gets back to her condo when she sees a bicycle stopped in the corner. She sees it as a similar bicycle she saw outside the halfway house. Obviously, it was Suhyun's bicycle. While conversing with Suhyun, she figures out that Suhyun gazes at her entryway frequently like he is pondering her. Sol Jae calls them out for acting abnormally and barring her from everything. Hyunjin gives a powerful grin and gets some information about the bicycle. Presently her questions transform into conviction. Suhyun is number 88, yet she actually needs to affirm it, so she welcomes him and others to supper. Suhyun finds a paper plane in her home. He unfurls it and finds cheerful birthday number 88 composed on it. Hyunjin has zero control over her feelings as she watches Suhyun snap a photo of the plane. Presently both realize about one another's confidential, that their companionship begins at Hansel shelter. Hyunjin and Suhyun discuss the Hansel shelter. Suhyun tranquilly tunes in as Hyunjin discusses her dim past. While she was not taken care of well, they constrained her into doing work. It was an all-out chasm until Suhyun came into her life. He resembled a light in her dim life, and she held tight to his light. Around evening time, Suhyun goes to see a Won-suk's house to find solutions to his inquiries. While holding Won-suk at gunpoint, he gets some information about the occurrence that occurred at Hansel Halfway House a long time back. He madly rejects his association with the episode and argues not to kill him. As Suhyun is going to pull the trigger, Won-suk's granddaughter goes into the room, helping Suhyun to remember Seolgi when she was concealing in the corner, unnerved. Suhyun can't force himself to kill Won-suk before his granddaughter, so he allows him to live. Suhyun was once a tip-top professional killer without any feelings in his heart. He would pull the trigger without giving apprehensions. Be that as it may, presently he appears to have feelings and sentiments, which is the shortcoming of any professional killer. He checks out at every one of his firearms, mulling over his life. He is a professional killer, and he can't change that about himself. Phillips, when he sees Sia Won-suk alive and sound on live TV, he gets stunned. He was anticipating that Suhyun should complete the objective, however presently he's in a difficult situation as the client will hold him liable. He races to Suhyun and shows his disappointment, realizing that Suhyun never neglects to kill an objective. He should have deliberately allowed the objective to live. Suhyun is fed up with killing. He lets him know that I'm worn out on carrying on one day to the next like this. Phillips can barely handle it, as he has consistently took care of business. He calls him powerless and faults Hyun-jin for screwing with his brain. Suhyun attempts to quiet him down, saying he can converse with his client and make sense of everything. Yet, subsequent to contending for some time, Phillips leads disappointed. Phillips attempts to make sense of the circumstance for his client. The client sends him an image and advises him to advance it to Suhyun, as it will urge him to complete their missions. Then again, Suhyun cautions Phillips to track down his client's whereabouts, as he has finished taking missions and needs to be familiar with his past straightforwardly. Suhyun visits a burial service house, where he tracks down an image of a young lady. It is a similar picture as the one sent by the client when he killed the main objective. Shockingly, he sees Hyun-jin composed on the edge. The young lady in the image is the genuine Hyun-jin, who kicked the bucket close to quite a while back. Lee Yoon-gun was given the name Hyun-jin when she was embraced by Yim Soyeon. Mother of genuine Hyun-jin, the more Suhyun gets into his past, the seriously confounding it gets. Suhyun trusts that Phillips in his office will research the client. He takes a gander at the photos she sent. Suhyun surmises that the client definitely had some awareness of the demise of Hyun-jin. He accepts that the client knows something about his past, so he should view as her. Phillips is persuading him to kill the objectives and get the cash and photographs, as that is the simplest way. As he goes out, Suhyun gets a danger call from the client. Advance notice him to do as is commonly said, or somebody near him will lose their life. Suhyun doesn't focus completely on the danger, and advises them to do however they see fit. However, at that point he hears the client firing up their vehicle. Suhyun sees Hyun-jin going across the street, lost in her viewpoints. As stress assumes control over him, Suhyun races to save her as a vehicle moves toward her at max throttle. Suhyun hops at the right second, and saves her life for the subsequent time. Without saying a word to Hyun-jin, Suhyun returns to the facility. He is enraged with the client. He maintains that Phillips should track down her definitely. He intends to bring down Seal Won-suk when he's bustling in the mission among the group. Not on the grounds that he is frightened of the little dangers of the client, but since he needs to show her what he is able to do. He cautions Phillips to get him the client, or he will kill them all. Hyun-jin and the police are very much aware that the executioner could target Seal Won-suk, as his name was in the journal that was tracked down close to Min-hyuk's body. Min-hyuk was a journalist and companion of Hyun-jin. They found a journal that had names of high-grade chiefs and presidents noted in it, including Seal Won-suk and Do Jae-won. Unintentionally, with the exception of Seal Won-suk and Do Jae-won, everybody was killed individually without a suspect. As per Hyun-jin, it is a sequential killing case, and the following objective is Seal Won-suk. However, she is basically right on the money. Suhyun readies his sharpshooter and takes the position. He brings down the representative, Seal Won-suk. That excessively before everybody. Individuals begin going around in a tumultuous way. Hyun-jin feels alarmed as her eyes go around to see as any suspect. She sees Suhyun wearing a cover and conveying a portfolio. He's strolling casually, yet Hyun-jin pursues him without illuminating her partners. She directs her firearm at Suhyun and orders him towards stop. As she gradually strolls towards him, her heart begins pulsating quicker. She recalls his eyes from when he saved her from the Russian person on the roof. Presently, she just needs to remove his veil and see who he truly is. While going for his cover, she lowers her defenses down. Suhyun, in a brief moment, holds her hand and incapacitates her. She attempts to bring him down with her kicks, however Suhyun easily takes out her bind from her pocket and sleeves her hand as an afterthought. Hyun-jin has never been this baffled before that she feels at the present time. She almost had him. She gets some chastening from her boss for allowing the executioner to leave. She feels disheartened in herself, yet she has no chance to lounge around and lament. Basically, she drew a nearer see his eyes. As Hyunjin gets ready portrayals of the executioner's face, she sees that the sketch looks like Suyun's eyes. Presently, she feels quite doubtful about Suhyun. She begins second-guessing herself about the amount she is familiar with him. She looked through the clinic where he apparently works. To clear her questions, she goes directly to that area to see whether Suhyun was there at the hour of CO1 Suk's death. She tracks down Suhyun there at the clinic. However, she is as yet incredulous and is curious as to whether he was there at the hour of the death. Suhyun puts his administrator ready to come in case of an emergency and advises Hyunjin to request yourself. The supervisor bears witness to that Suhyun came around 5 p.m. Indeed, Suhyun advised his director to mislead bamboozle Hyunjin. Then again, we see Philip setting a gathering with the client, Yoon Ji-hae, as he is going to meet her. A couple of folks to whom he owes cash remove him. Suhyun acts the hero, beating folks twofold his size gracefully. He requests that Phillips track the IP address of Ji-hae's mobile phone, yet that is inconceivable as she utilized a VPN prior to messaging him. Suhyun orders Phillips to message Ji-hae and requests the image that she guaranteed. They get an image of Hyunjin, making more disarray in our professional killer's psyche. Then, at that point, it snaps to him that he ought to visit Yoon Soyeon, the non-permanent mother of Hyunjin and spouse of Doojeon. While remaining at the entryway of Doo Jae-won's home, he recalls a brief look at his past. He slips into the house and intently keeps an eye on the party supper of the bosses. Ji-hyun converses with Yoon Hoon, who is the specialist in his accomplice engaged with his dull business. They take out organs from the numbered vagrants and relocate them to their rich patients. While a party is happening in the house, someplace in the wilderness, Ji-hyun is slaughtering a kid. Everything begins to appear to be legit. They would gather organs from stranded youngsters to offer them to rich and tip-top patients. Suhyun learns about their dull minimal mystery, and presently he will get payback. Suhyun presently recollects nearly everything from quite a while ago. He recollects that evening from youth when he hurried to Ji-hyun's home and called for Hyunjin. Hyunjin emerged and momentarily talked before her mother came and took her inside. He obviously recollects how Ji-hyun took him on a vehicle ride and dropped him in a stockroom in the wilderness. In that stockroom, there were other numbered kids from the halfway house. Ji-hyun requested Park Tae to kill every one of them. While Park Tae went out briefly, one of the youngsters advised Suhyun to run. Suhyun slyly stowed away under a sweeping and trusted that Park Tae will go searching for him. When he left, Suhyun ran as quick as possible with his little legs. At last, he got distribution center. However, Park Tae had previously informed Ji-hyun, who returned to search for Suhyun. Ji-hyun saw Suhyun running in the street. It was all the while coming down when Ji-hyun ran the young man with his vehicle. Suhyun was oblivious when Ji-hyun put him in a pack. In right now, Ji-hyun is conversing with a man. While Suhyun is taking cover behind a shade, he goes out with two inquiries. One, is Ji-hyun my dad? And two, for what reason did they kill every one of the youngsters? In the meantime, Ji-hyun goes out to supper with her partners. In the wake of being excessively tanked, she drops by Suhyun's center to converse with him. They discuss their experience growing up. Ji-hyun lets him know that she's happy you are a vet and not some lawbreaker. Suhyun doesn't have the foggiest idea what she implies by that, so she shares the tale of her partner, who was pursuing the head of a betting racket for a very long time. At the point when he at long last gotten him, it worked out that the supervisor was his companion from grade school. Ji-hyun lets Suhyun know that she feels alleviated that you were not engaged with any crime, or, in all likelihood I would have needed to capture you, which would have been exceptionally agonizing for me. Suhyun grins and inquires as to whether you are off base. Suhyun utilizes Philip's telephone to send a video to Ji-hyun, realizing this will cause her to escape her shell. Ji-hyun in a flash visits Ji-hyun-woo to examine it with him. Ji-hyun-woo was a specialist working at Buddy Ji-hyun's biotech organization, Scion. Ji-hyun-woo learned about the dim privileged insights of Scion and how Ji-hyun was slaughtering vagrant youngsters. He left Scion and attempted to uncover the organization, yet Ji-hyun was nothing not exactly malevolent. He managed Ji-hyun-woo by killing his family and outlining him for the homicides. Ji-hyun-woo got away and remained inconspicuous while making arrangements for the ideal vengeance. Ji-hyun shows the video to Ji-hyun-woo and lets him know that Suhyun needs to be aware of his dad. Ji-hyun-woo encourages her to be cautious and don't underrate number 88. In the interim, Suhyun is anxious to be familiar with his dad and the justification for killing every one of the numbered youngsters. He recollects his experience with Park Tae and how he kids about killing the youngsters. He needs to get back at everybody engaged with that offensive wrongdoing. As a mystery, Suhyun sends a video of the unlawful organ relocate a medical procedure to Ji-hyun as a danger. Ji-hyun appears to be stressed interestingly, as he doesn't maintain that it should go out in the media. Ji-hyun madly strolls and gets prodded by Suhyun and drops the telephone. Suhyun hands him over and apologizes. Ji-hyun doesn't have the foggiest idea about that number 88 is hungry for retribution. Ji-hyun pants cat becomes sick, so she carries it to Suhyun. Subsequent to doing a concise exam, Suhyun sees as nothing bad about her truly as her temperature is typical. However, he uncovers that she may be feeling discouraged. Cats are delicate creatures. They can get discouraged on the off chance that their proprietors are discouraged. Suhyun tells Ji-hyun to get some downtime for herself. As she has been occupied with work recently, Ji-hyun guarantees him that she will presently begin dealing with herself. At the point when Ji-hyun and the examiner Yun-woo visited CO1 Suk's house, they viewed as a safe broken. Subsequent to grilling the servant, they figured out that Park Tae was simply permitted to go close to the safe. Park Tae was one Suk's individual associate, however turned out subtly for Ji-hyun. Hyun-jin chooses to capture Park Tae and examine him. Then again, Ji-hyun finds out about Ji-hai's real nature. His associate shows him a photograph of a child's lower leg band found in Ji-hai's telephone. As he is taking a gander at the photograph, Hyun-jin visits to ask him a few inquiries. As everything is prompting Ji-hyun and his organization, she needs Ji-hyun to respond to her inquiries. She gets some information about the Hansel halfway house and the numbered kids who disappeared without any records. Ji-hyun responds to not a solitary inquiry and on second thought pose to her to leave. Hyun-jin has no proof against him, so she can legitimately do nothing. In any case, for the least, she realizes his non-permanent dad isn't perfect. While really taking a look at their letter drop, official Lee tracks down the articles from a long time back during the debate about Hansel halfway house. The article said that various skeletons of kids were tracked down close to the halfway house. The article was required down that very day it was distributed, so no one got to be aware of it. Be that as it may, today, all of a sudden, somebody sent those articles to their location. They went to where the skeletons were found and begun digging. Subsequent to searching for some time, they tracked down the dead body of a woman. Hyun-jin and official Lee really look at the CCTV film to find the individual who conveyed these articles to their location. The individual who sent the articles to their location is Ji-hyun, which is the greatest shock at this point to Hyun-jin and official Lee. For what reason is Ji-hyun helping them for this situation? However, this moment, Ji-hyun is caught by Ji-hyun's men, and her karma can't deteriorate, as Hyun-jin sends an image of her dropping the mail to the police headquarters. Ji-hyun's collaborator illuminates him about the circumstance that she sent the articles to a cop. Ji-hyun keeps even-tempered and teaches him not to turn off Ji-hai's telephone, as Go Hyun-charm in number 88 will attempt to connect with her. All things considered, he is correct. Hyun-charm calls Ji-hyun on different occasions, yet when she doesn't get, he asks number 88 for help. He sends her telephone's area to number 88 and lets him know that to save the vagrant kids, he needs to follow the area. Then again, Hyun-jin advances Ji-hai's number to official Lee and requests that he track the telephone's area. Hyun-jin follows the area and winds up someplace in the wilderness. She finds Ji-hyun's vehicle left as an afterthought, which alarmed her. She calls Ji-hyun to affirm in the event that he's here, yet as she is on the call with Ji-hyun, Ji-hyun's men assault her. Ji-hyun hears her shout and races to save her. He takes on the men's performance, thumping all of them down. However, in the battle, Hyun-jin gets seriously stung. As Ji-hyun attempts to mind her, one of Ji-hyun's men attempts to wound him from behind. However, Hyun-jin bounces in and takes the cutting to her back, all things being equal. Hyun-jin is owned up to the emergency clinic, and except me, nobody is more stressed than examiner Youthful Woo, who comes racing into the ward. He requests her orders as they couldn't get the court order to really take a look at the stockroom. Hyun-jin's mom denies her to go out on any more perilous undertakings, as she's as of now in basic condition, yet she guarantees her that she's returning home. Yet, prior to returning home, Hyun-jin visits the distribution center with the examiner, where she tracks down significant proof. Young-woo drops Hyun-jin home. As she pivots, she sees Ji-hyun in his center. Hyun-jin grumbles about why he didn't visit him while she was in the emergency clinic, and he doesn't actually ask how she is. Suhyun remains quiet as though he is faulting himself for seriously endangering Hyun-jin's life. However, in particular, she's interested why she sees Suhyun in the spots he shouldn't be, similar to the previous evening close to Seyin's stockroom. Suhyun makes sense of that he went there to treat a canine. Hyun-jin wishes well for the canine, as along these lines, Suhyun arrived and saved her. Suhyun tells Hyun-jin that she can call him at whatever point she wants his assistance. She is blissful as now she can see Suhyun on a more regular basis. The following morning, she calls him to drive her to the workplace. As Suhyun accompanies her out of the house, the investigator, Yoon, is as of now hanging tight for her outside. Suhyun says that it's better you go with him, as you both are making a beeline for a similar objective. Hyun-jin takes a gander at Suhyun as she needs to go with him, all things considered. Prior, Suhyun collaborated with man Jin as his child. At the point when Jin sat in his vehicle outside his home, Suhyun called him to pose the standard, worn-out inquiries. This time, he called him his dad and asked him for what reason he requested to kill me in those days. Jin lets him know in scorn that you are his greatest misstep. Suhyun told him not to stress as the number 88 doesn't commit errors. As their call finished, Suhyun fired up his vehicle and sped it into Jin's vehicle, yet turned the guiding squarely eventually, almost giving a coronary failure to his dad. After the release from the medical clinic, when Jin and examiner Yoon went to the stockroom, they found Shihai's wristband canvassed in blood smudge. Shihai was brought to the distribution center, where they disposed of her. Then again, Suhyun introduces a camera in the celebrity ward at the Rush Emergency Clinic. He is intending to slip into the emergency clinic and track down his responses. Phillips attempts to caution him, however we know when Suhyun decides on something. At any rate he does it. Suhyun finds Administrator Mama in the celebrity ward. He is the normal, worn-out man who got a heart relocate in Sean Clinic. Suhyun asks him how he is feeling in the wake of taking a day-to-day existence from somebody. The elderly person begins getting restless, and his pulse begins ascending as he gets defied by Suhyun. Administrator Mama frantically attempts to press the alert button, yet his hand can't arrive at it. Suhyun squeezes it for himself and leaves. While examining the medical clinic, he winds up in a confidential lab that appears to be very dubious. He finds numbered restraints lined on a table, and each jug contains treated eggs. Suhyun now comprehends Jaehyun's entire dull business. Utilizing managed impregnation, they finish infants for the sole motivation behind serving the elites with their organs. In the event that some first class have a dysfunctioning organ, the Sean organization offers them another organ relocate for a powerful measure of cash. Suhyun plants the bomb in the lab, and afterward calls Jaehyun. He enlightens him that he knows concerning his scandalous little tidbit and allows him 3 minutes to tell the whereabouts of the multitude of numbered kids. Hyun advises him to do what he needs to do, and he isn't terrified of him. Suhyun doesn't say a lot, yet gives his desire. Kaboom! He bombs the lab, and close by the put-away treated eggs for the celebrities, all their biotech research consumes into cinders. Hyun has never felt so disappointed and irate as he is feeling at present. Subsequent to seeing his long periods of difficult work transform into blazes. In the meantime, Suhyun leaves the clinic and starts following Jaehyun's troop. He follows him to another distribution center. In the stockroom, he gets into a battle with the hooligans and ultimately brings them down with minor wounds. Suhyun feels miserable as he tracks down no hint of youngsters there, yet as he is going to leave, he hears a few children cry in a room. He opens the entryway and gradually strolls in. Suhyun has zero control over his feelings seeing the numbered youngsters safe. It helps him to remember himself when he was held hostage at the halfway house, and afterward removed to kill. He is blissful and profound simultaneously in the wake of saving the honest spirits. Then again, Hyunjin finds the mystery room in Suhyun's facility while he isn't there. She finds all that she was hesitant to be aware of Suhyun. Imported weapons on the wall help her to remember the time she experienced the concealed Suhyun. He was actually a professional killer. While she finds the clouded side of Suhyun, she likewise finds his delicate side. All the paper planes that Hyunjin gave him, he won't ever discard. As Hyunjin is gathering proof in his office, Suhyun sends her an area. She follows the area and finds a vehicle left on the side of the road. She gets to the vehicle and tracks down the salvage youngsters. Suhyun calls Hyunjin and inquires as to whether she can safeguard these numbered youngsters. Hyunjin guarantees him that the children will be secured, yet please, we want to talk. She attempts to prevent him from getting back at Jae-won, however Suhyun tells her that it is his fate to kill Jae-won and shut down the dim part. Hyunjin madly cries since she knows that in the event that Suhyun doesn't give up, she should capture him or, in the most pessimistic scenario, kill him. Yet, Suhyun says that he doesn't believe Jae-won should sting additional youngsters, and assuming he gets arraigned, he will effortlessly purchase the framework with cash. While Suhyun has his reasons, Hyunjin is a well-behaved resident whose occupation is to safeguard the law and indict hoodlums. Suhyun meets Phillips and gets some information about how Solji is doing and assuming she's protected. Phillips guarantees him that she's protected. Then, at that point, Suhyun inquires as to whether he knows where Jae-won is. He doesn't have a clue about the specific whereabouts, yet he realizes that he went to kill somebody. Suhyun requests that Phillips organize a telephone in a vehicle. Suhyun cautions Phillips of Hyunjin that she will come after you since she knows it all. Phillips asks Suhyun to run and move out to elsewhere and carry on with an alternate life. However, presently it's past the point of no return. Suhyun tenderly tells Phillips. In the interim, at the police base camp, they assembled sufficient proof to capture Do Jae-won. Hyunjin drives the police power to his home and captures him for his wrongdoings. They take him to the cross-examination room and play his voice notices, where he discusses carrying out murders. Jae-won sits casually and denies each allegation coming his direction. Ultimately, he gets delivered as he has great associations with solid legislators. Hyunjin and her group watch and depression as Jae-won leaves the police headquarters uncuffed. Then again, Suhyun has chosen to kill the administrator, Do Jae-won. However, previously he visits Solji and overlooks her #1 feast. At the point when Solji finds food on the table, she quickly knows that Suhyun is here. However, he's simply watching Solji from a distance. He calls her and they talk for some time, recalling the time spent all together. Suhyun drapes up the call in the wake of saying his farewells. He advances toward Jae-won's home, where he is dwelling with his men, including Park Tae. They hear a discharge. Suhyun is as of now here. Bringing down watches individually, Park Tae takes out his weapon and goes out to take on Suhyun. Suhyun gets a hit on the shoulder and unexpectedly, Phillips shows up and brings down the gatekeeper. As Phillips is asking Suhyun in the event that he is okay, he has chants on numerous occasions all around his body. Suhyun shoves Phillips to the side. It is Park Tae pulling the trigger. Suhyun fires back, putting Park Tae on the back foot. They get into actual battle as their distance draws nearer. Suhyun won't let him go this time around. He sends him flying with a kick and afterward makes it lights out time for him by stifling his windpipe. Suhyun without any help brings down the entire multitude of watchmen and strolls angrily towards the administrator's room. Jae-won is prepared with a gun, yet he isn't generally so fast as our legend professional killer. He shoots him one time, and Jae-won falls on the floor. In the wake of seeing his passing from point-clear reach, Jae-won begins asking Suhyun to allow him to live. He's prepared to provide him with his fortune of abundance in return for his life. Suhyun feels so irate, knowing the number of kids he that forfeited for his money-related gains, that he shoots him again in the leg. In the meantime, Hyunjin additionally shows up on the scene. She focuses her firearm at Suhyun and implores him to let him go. Suhyun attempts to tell her that he will again effectively sidestep conviction through his influence of cash and jeopardize the existences of youngsters once more. The police force shows up and encompasses Suhyun. Hyunjin cries as he begs Suhyun to drop his weapon. For probably the first time, when he takes a gander at Hyunjin, he thinks about letting Jae-won live. In any case, the contemplations of guiltless youngsters weeping for help as they get butchered for their organs propels him to pull the trigger. He flames, and that as well, solidly in the center of Jae-won's head, bringing down his last objective. The police force opens the burst, bringing about a perfect experience. Hyunjin separates, crying as she holds Suhyun's hand. Suhyun effectively got his payback, yet it was more than vengeance.